Everybody, JC here with another T&I toy review, and today's review is in association with MarvelousNews.com, your #1 news source for everything Marvel. And for today's review, we're going to be taking a look at the brand new Marvel Legends Series 4-inch comic 2-pack figure sets. Now this first wave includes 3 different sets of figures. We've got the Mechanical Masters, shield-wielding heroes, and defenders of Asgard. And all 3 sets of figures come packaged in the same style packaging. You've got that Marvel Legends Series logo up at the top. All these figures, both 6-inch and 3¼ inch scale figures, are now under the Marvel Legends series. We've also got a little special edition comic book logo. Then we've got a look at the comic books that each figure comes with. So each set does come with its own special custom edition comic book, and then the figures are clearly displayed in the packaging. Back of the packaging for these, we have a look at the figures in each of the sets. So we've got the Marvel Machine Man and Superior Iron Man, Vance Astro from Guardians of the Galaxy, and Captain America, Sam Wilson as Captain America, and then Marvel's Odinson, as they call it, or Disgrace Thor, whatever you want to call it, and then the Jane Foster female Thor. And then we have little brief bios for each one up at the top corner, and then down below it shows us the other figures in the first wave. Okay, so let's get these open and take a look at what's inside. So here's a look at all 6 figures outside of their packaging. Now before we look at the figures themselves, let's quickly take a look at the comic books that each set comes with. Okay, so this is the comic that comes with the Iron Man set, and even though it's on the cover as Secret Wars, you'll see down here in the corner it actually tells you that the comic contains a special edition of Superior Iron Man #1. So even, I don't know why they put Secret Wars on the cover, but what you actually get is the first, a reprint of the first Superior Iron Man storyline. And, you know, it's got its own ads and everything. You've got a few ads for things like Marvel's Unlimited, and you've got the 6-inch Onslaught Build-A-Figure ad on the back, and I think on the inside is for the Spider-Man Absorbing Man 6-inch figures. No advertisements for any of the other 3¼ inch figures, but we do have a couple for the 6-inch Marvel Legends. So we've got that one. The Captain America set comes, again, we've got a Secret Wars cover, but what we actually get is a reprint of the all-new Captain America #1. Now, funny is they also, this on the front cover, the first page is actually the Guardians of the Galaxy, which is the other figure that comes in this set, but this image has nothing to do with the actual story inside, so I guess they just wanted you to have something to reflect the second figure, but this is really about Sam Wilson as Captain America. And then the final one, the Thor set, comes with Thor's #1, which was a Battle World title, I think, and this is I guess this contains Thor #1. I haven't read this, but this one actually does, I think, have both Jane Foster and Thor Odinson. So this is probably the only comic that actually contains both of the characters in the set. Okay, so for the figures, we'll start off looking at the Iron Man and Machine Man set, and I think Machine Man is probably the nicer looking between these two figures. I don't really think this Iron Man figure looks a whole lot like the Superior Iron Man armor like we see in the comic books. First of all, I don't like the blue that they've used. In the comics, he's got the white kind of lights with blue highlights, but on this, they've just painted it blue, and so I think that looks off. Also, it's a little bit sloppy in areas, like the blue on his chest, and then here on his shoulder you can see some scratch marks on the blue, so I don't really like that at all. Also, I think this is just really doesn't look like the armor that you see in the comic books. I think this is a reuse of an older Iron Man figure from the Marvel Universe Infinite series line that they just kind of redid for Superior Iron Man, and I think it looks too silver. I think in the comics he looks more white. The armor looks more white. I like the coloring on the faceplate here. I think the rest of the figure should look more like that than this darker silver that they used. Now for the Machine Man, I think he looks pretty good. Articulation is a little bit disappointing on Machine Man. Also, I don't like the fact that they did not make the parts on his lower arms, his machine parts, detachable in any way. So he's got this one arm, which is a saw blade. The blade doesn't move. It's just all a solid piece. The sculpting on it's pretty good, but again, it's kind of disappointing that you can't, like, they didn't give him an extra pair of regular hands or something that you could switch these out with. The other arm is done as I think it's like a sonic gun or something. And again, the sculpting on it looks pretty good, and they've used metallic type silver and everything. So I like the way they look, but it's just kind of disappointing that we didn't get like alternate regular hands or anything with these. And then the rest of the figure is just done with black, and he's got the purple striping throughout, which I think looks pretty good, and the face looks pretty good. He's got the red eyes and the kind of big grin and everything. So very Machine Man-like. I just don't like that he kind of has limited articulation. He doesn't have a midsection joint, so he can basically turn his head left and right. He can get his arm out. He's got good rotation there, single hinged elbow, but so he can bend his elbow about that much, but no articulation on the lower arms at all. As I said, no midsection joint, can do the splits, can get his leg forward, can kind of do the leg back a little bit, no thigh swivel, double jointed knees, so he's got pretty good bending at the knee, and then he's got some up and down movement with the feet and some ankle pivot. He's got more articulation than Machine Man. Again, I think this reuses an older Iron Man sculpt. The head can look left, right. It's got some pretty good up and down movement there with the head, which is nice for flight poses. I do like that. These shoulder pads are articulated. They're separate pieces, so you can actually remove them if you want. You can get the arm out pretty good, and he's got good rotation. He's got he does have a bicep swivel. He's got a single hinged elbow, and he can swivel at the wrist. He's got a midsection, so he can swivel there at the midsection. He can crunch down a little bit and look back a little bit. Legs are attached with ball joints. He's got these little flaps on the side, which I think look pretty funny because they don't really fit. They basically just kind of stick out, even though they are a separate piece and you can move them a little bit. They still just basically stick out, which I think looks funny. He does have a thigh swivel, a little bit of a thigh swivel. He's got a double jointed knee, so he can bend his knee pretty good. And then he's got hinges on the feet, but the way the armor comes down over the ankles, it limits the feet movement. So you've got basically just a little bit of up and down movement, and you can move to the left and right a little bit, and that's about it. And 2 peg holes on the bottom of the feet. And if I didn't mention, Machine Man does have swivels at the elbow. Moving on to the Thor set, this is actually probably the nicest set of the 3. Thor looks decent, though he does have kind of a big goofy grin. I don't like the grin that they give him, but otherwise I think the figure looks pretty good. The Jane Foster Thor is more articulated than the regular Thor figure, but again, they both I think look probably the best of the 3 sets. Now also both come with accessories. Thor has his axe, and then Jane Foster Thor has the hammer, and the hammer is nice paint detail on it. You've got the little writing inscribed on the side. We've seen that with other Thor hammers in the past. And you've got the wrapping on the handle for the leather and the little strap. So I think that looks pretty good. Thor's axe also is not too bad looking. You've got the wood sculpting with the little wrapping, and then you've got the metal metallic silver for the axe blade. And the blade is looks pretty sharp. It's not sharp, it's just plastic, but it looks sharp. Thor's also got a little loop on his belt here, so you can slide the axe and have him hold it on the side if you want to. Both figures have capes that are made with that kind of vinyl material, and if you wanted to, you could probably pop her head off and take the cape off. Same with him. Thor's hair is kind of long, and the plastic's pretty hard, so that limits the movement of the head a decent amount. As I said, Thor has less articulation. He doesn't really have a midsection joint. He does, he actually has no midsection joint, not even a waist swivel. You can get the arm out pretty good, and you got good rotation there at the arms. He can turn the head, but again, really doesn't have much in the way of up or down movement. Has a single hinged elbow, so he can bend his elbow about that much, and then he's got the swivel at the elbow as well. No wrist articulation. Can do the splits about that much. Can get the leg forward and can do the leg back. Doesn't have a thigh swivel. Does have a double jointed knee, and then it's got the up and down movement with the feet, and does have ankle pivot, so good movement there at the feet and 2 peg holes. For Jane Foster Thor, her little wing pieces on her mask are very soft plastic, so and her hair is pretty soft plastic as well. So it doesn't limit the head movement too much. You can still get her to look left and right, but again, she really doesn't have much in the way of up or down movement. She does actually have a hinge on her neck, but so I guess you can she can look down pretty good, but with the hair she can't really look up. She's got the ball hinge joints so she can get the arm out good, and she's got good rotation there. She does have a bicep swivel. She has a double hinged elbow, so good bending there. She does not have any wrist articulation. She does have a midsection joint, so she's got rotation there, and she's got a little bit of a crunch. Now she's got the skirt piece, which is a separate piece, but that does limit some of the leg movement. She can't really do the splits much. That's about as much as she can do the splits. She can get her leg out, even though I just popped off the ball joint, so I'm trying to get that popped in. Okay, so she also has a thigh swivel. She's got double jointed knees, and then she does have the hinges on the feet, so she's got up and down movement, and she does have ankle pivot and 2 peg holes on the bottom of her feet. Okay, for the final set, the Sam Wilson Captain America and the Vance Astro figure, both figures come with a Captain America shield, and they're basically the exact same shield. You've got the little clamp on the bottom side that moves to the left and right, and it's done with the red and the silver metallic as opposed to white and the blue paint. Now, with the Sam Wilson figure, I will say they've given him really thick wrists, so the clamp, the little clip that they give you, does not fit very well on this figure at all. So the best you can kind of do is put it forward and it'll stay on a little bit, but it really does not. The shield does, because the wrists are so thick on this figure, does not stay on very well, unfortunately. For the Vance Astro figure, it's fine, but with the Falcon cap, it's not. Now, I think the Falcon cap figure looks pretty good. My only complaint really with it is they did not include any wings, which is kind of an essential part of the character's whole thing with the Falcon cap, but unfortunately they did not give him any kind of wings. His articulation is pretty limited as well. He can look left and he can look right. He really does not have any up or down movement. He can get his arm out good, and he's got good rotation. He does not have a bicep swivel, just has a single hinged elbow, but he can still bend his elbow pretty good. Also has a rotation there at the elbow. No wrist articulation, no midsection articulation. He does have a waist swivel though, which is good. The belt on the figure is a separate piece, and then he can't really do the splits. The legs are attached with ball joints, but he can't really do the splits very well. He can get his leg forward good, and he can do his leg back. He does not have a thigh swivel. He does have double jointed knees, so good bending at the knee, and then he's got the up and down movement with the feet, and he does have ankle pivot and 2 peg holes on the bottom of his feet. The Vance Astro figure, again, kind of the same articulation. Head can look left and right, and really has no up or down movement. Can get the arm out good. No bicep swivel. Single hinged elbow. Can bend his elbow about that much. Has a swivel there. No wrist articulation. No midsection articulation. Can do the splits about that much. No thigh swivel. Double jointed knees. So he can bend his knee halfway decently, and then he's got up and down movement, and he's got the ankle pivot and 2 peg holes. So the Thor figure stands the tallest. He stands about just a little bit under 5 inches, maybe between 4 3/4 and 5 inches. I would say the Falcon cap is a little bit on the tall side to me. He's about 4 3/4 inches tall. Vance Astro is about 4.5. Iron Man is about 4.5. Machine Man is about the same height as Iron Man, 4.5. And then the Jane Foster Thor, if you count to the tip of her winged ears, is about 4.5, maybe a little bit more than 4.5. Okay, so that's my review. Overall, I would say these sets are okay at best. Honestly, even though normally I advocate opening your figures, these with the comic books and everything probably look the best if you just leave them in the packaging. I don't like the Superior Iron Man set. I don't think that Iron Man figure looks anything like the Superior Iron Man. The Falcon Cap set is not bad looking, but the lack of articulation on Falcon Cap and the fact that he doesn't have any wings is disappointing. And I also don't like that the shield fits not very well at all on the figure. The Vance Astro figure is not bad, and if you have the Yondo figure from the first 4-inch Marvel Legends wave, then it'll be a nice addition to your original Guardians of the Galaxy team. The best of the three is probably the Thor set. Even though I don't like the goofy grin that they've given Thor, I think the figure otherwise looks pretty good, and even though I'm not a huge fan of the Jane Foster Thor, I don't think it's a bad looking figure, even though the gummy joint syndrome on it is a bit of a pain. So these figures are out now, and we'll have a full image gallery up at marvelousnews.com. There's a link in the description below, and as always, leave a comment, let us know what you think. If you're so inclined, please like the video, and if you haven't already, please subscribe, and until next time, I'll catch you later.